Welcome, folks. We've got some attendees coming in. We are grateful for you being here. We're waiting a moment to get more attendees in, and then we will do the full welcome in and go forward with the broadcast. Welcome. We're grateful that you're here. Ned, it looks to me like there's several attendees that are arriving. I think I'll go ahead and do our full intro now.
Sounds great, Phil.
You want to count me down to get going?
We're going to be recording in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we are live. Welcome to Fight for Your Business Interruption Claim Payout. Morgan & Morgan Insurance Recovery Group brings you this webinar. We are hosted by double board certified trial lawyer Mark Nation, giving you the most up-to-date information and answering your questions about business interruption claims. I'm Phil Sanoff, trial lawyer with Morgan & Morgan's Insurance Recovery Group. With Morgan & Morgan's Insurance Recovery Group, I have 55 of the most awesome attorney colleagues you would ever want to know. We are in 25 offices, 13 states, all across the country. Even though we're focusing today on business interruption, if you have any problem with any insurance claim, you need to come see us. You can reach us through our website, forthepeople.com, or hit pound LAW from any cell phone, anywhere. If that doesn't work for you, just get me on my personal cell, 713-825-3444. Morgan & Morgan Insurance Recovery Group, come see us. We are so lucky and grateful to have Mark Nation leading our Fight for Your Business Interruption Insurance Claim Payout again, as we have every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark, we are grateful for you. We've got attendees here and are ready for you to take it away, sir.
Excellent. Thank you for the kind introduction, Phil. And it's a pleasure to be here, everybody. I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, and then I want to get into the most important part of our time together here, and that is going to be your questions. I'm hopeful that you've come today with questions because I really want to talk to you, and that is what I look forward to every Thursday. You know, during the week, get a lot of phone calls, and I can't get to everybody, but a lot of folks have the exact same questions. And so what I'm doing is trying to get people go ahead and come to the webinar and ask your questions or listen, and you'll probably hear the answer to what question you had about business interruption. So I'm going to give a short introduction on business interruption in a second, but then I do want to get to your questions. It's really important to me that we talk and address what questions you have. Having said that, it can be a question about business interruption or really anything. If you have a legal question and it pops up and you think, all right, well, that guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, maybe I'll ask him this. I don't care if it's business interruption. It literally can be anything from admiralty to zoning. If you have a question right now and you need an answer, I'll try to help you with that too. So don't get too caught up in the fact that we're focused on BI if you also have a different question. So here's the thing. The reason I started doing this, I just gave you is to be able to talk to you and answer questions in a convenient time for all of us, but also in order to get out information about these claims. A lot of people think that there's no coverage for business interruption, and that's because the insurance industry has done an exceptionally good job of messaging this, or should I say mismessaging it, because there are a lot of insurance policies that are going to provide coverage for this, and there are going to be some that probably don't, and we'll look at that in a second. But if you have a business and you've lost income as a result of being shut down, my number one advice is file a claim. Even if you think there's nothing that can be done, file the claim. It'll probably get denied, but then we can start. And people need to know, do not be intimidated by the denial. In fact, every case I've ever won, they all started with a denial. Reality is I can't even get started until the insurance company denies the claim or says no. But no's not the end of the inquiry. It's just the beginning. It's the very first step. And know this, every case I've ever won, and there are thousands of them, they all started with no. So even if you think there's nothing that can be done, file the claim, and if it's denied, let me look at it. I'll look at it for free. And if the insurance company is doing the right thing, I'll tell you that. And if they're doing the wrong thing, I'll tell you that too, and what we can do. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and then we're going to get started. Because I want to show you what, hey, Ned,
Yes, sir.
if you could allow the screen share, just go into the share button, or the video button probably, and it says allow anybody to share screen. And let me know when you've done that, and we can do that. And I'll keep talking while you're doing that. So a little bit about me is I've been doing work on behalf of policyholders for the past 30 years. I've handled thousands of insurance policy or claims on behalf of policyholders. Wrote a book called Claim Denied that talks about what to do in order to, how to get an agent, how to pick an insurance company, the coverages I recommend, and most importantly, what to do in the event that an insurance company says no. All right.
You should be good to share your screen, Mark.
Hey, Ned, thank you very much. So here's what I want to do. I first want to draw this, and I want this embedded in people's minds. And I'm going to start here. We got a line. And over here on the right-hand side, another line. And I like to think of these as a continuum. And what you should think of is on the left side here is business interruption, and we call that BI. BI claims, these are policies that are providing coverage. So I'll put cover. So BI covered. Oops. And over on this side, BI, business interruption, not covered. And that's kind of the continuum we have. And what I want to think of it this way. Over here, they're covered. Traveling in this direction. Over here, you've got claims that are not covered. And what we have in the middle, right here, is what I call no man's land. So on the left side, the green, we've got policies that provide coverage and they don't have any exclusions that would apply. And then on the red over here, on the right-hand side, you've got policies that may not provide coverage or may have an exclusion that applies. But it's not every policy, and that's the messaging or the mismessaging that's going out. There's a great number of cases where the policies provide coverage. I'm going to show you how that is in a minute. And then you've got this area right here. I'll call that no man's land. And what we need is we're going to have some direction from the courts on whether or not those policies provide coverage or not. And so that is kind of a picture of where we're at this point. And I'm going to give you, tell you something. People talk about the virus exclusion. I've seen a number of policies that have no exclusion whatsoever. And I've seen a number of policies that have exclusions that the insurance company says apply, but they don't. And then I've seen some policies that have an exclusion that has the word virus in it, and that may or may not apply depending on the particular wording of the policy. I was just talking to a potential client right before the webinar today. And what he said is, you know, nobody could have anticipated this. Talking about the insurance companies, they certainly couldn't have anticipated this, because he's heard that message. The insurance companies have said, you know, we couldn't anticipate this. It's not covered. Absolutely. I said, hold on a second. That's absolutely wrong. The insurance industry knew full well about this. That's why some policies have exclusions in them for this. Some of them do. They know good and well that this could happen. And in some policies, they have exclusions. In other policies, they don't have exclusions, and they chose to sell it without it, even though they knew it could happen. And it was like a light went off, and he hadn't thought of it that way. Of course, the insurance companies know something like this can happen, because some policies exclude it. Now, some of the exclusions they're relying on just don't apply. And I'm going to give you an example, and then we're going to get to your questions in a second. I told you at the beginning, even if you don't think there's coverage, file a claim. And this is a basic letter that we send out, and it just is filing the claim. It's nothing fancy. If you don't want to file the claim, let us file your claim on your behalf. And it's very basic. One of the traps that people fall in when they file these claims on their own is they get too specific. They'll say something like, I'm filing a claim for my business interruption coverage. Well, insurance companies call this type of coverage by a lot of different names. Some of them do call it business interruption. Some of them call it business income. Some of them call it time elements expense. There are lots of different names. And I've said this before. I had one claim where the insurance company said, well, we don't have coverage for that specific thing they'd asked for, which was true. But they did have coverage for time elements, but the client, the insured, had no idea it was called that. And then we had to refile the claim. And so basically what I'm asking people, or what we're doing, is filing the claim. And the first sentence here is pretty clear. The insured business has lost income, had extra expense, and suffered other losses as a result of COVID-19. All right. I am hereby presenting a claim for all coverages available under my business policy for this loss of income and extra expense. We could really end it right there, because then it's the insurance company's job to tell you what coverages apply or don't apply, and the amount of the loss that they're willing to pay. But I do go on a little bit. This claim includes, but is not limited to, a claim for normal continuing expenses plus gross profit, lost income, extra expense, and any other similar benefit under the policy. File the claim. And then, and we're going to get to your questions in 1 second, what people do ask routinely, well, what is it I'm entitled to? There's generally 2 types of damage or loss that you're entitled to. One is these normal continuing operating expenses plus profit. And 2 is extra expenses incurred because of the suspension of operations, where you're now incurring different expenses because of this shutdown that you didn't have before. Those are generally the 2 types of loss that you're entitled to. And then the final thing I want to do, let me just pull it up real quick, because people are asking, you know, how is it that there's coverage? And I'm going to show you something the insurance companies are doing. And you've got to be on the lookout for it. So this is a typical claim coverage for business income and extra expense. Now, the first thing you need, and this is typical of how it's written by various insurance companies. I'm not picking on this one here, that most of them write it exactly the same way. First thing I want you to pay attention to, this coverage is in your property policy. And it's in your property policy because the insurance company recognizes if you can't use your building, your business, your property for its intended purpose, you're going to have a loss of income. And so they put this business income coverage in the property policy. That's where it's found. But the trigger for coverage is, and it's right here, there are 2 triggers for coverage. The suspension, that means the suspension of your operations must be caused by, and there are 2 triggers. 1, direct physical loss of, or 2, damage to property at the described premises. So that is the trigger. The key is there are 2 triggers. Trigger 1 is direct, and this is critical to the analysis, physical loss of, trigger 2, and it's or 2, damage to property. Now, why is it so important that there are 2 triggers for coverage? Because it is well understood that you can have a direct physical loss of your property and no damage. Easiest example is somebody steals your car, you've got direct physical loss of your car. It can no longer be used for its intended purpose. There's no damage to it. It could be in exactly the same condition that it was before it was stolen. And if the policy says we'll pay for damage to your property and didn't have the direct physical loss, somebody steals your car, well, there's no damage and they get out. But this coverage is specific. 2 triggers: direct physical loss of or damage to property. So if you can no longer use your business for its intended purpose, even if there's no damage, there's coverage under the business income. And almost every one of these policies, that's how the triggers work. So what is the insurance industry doing? When you get a denial letter, most of them are saying, we're denying the claim because there's been no direct physical damage. And so what they do is they pick and choose their words. They'll say there was no direct physical damage to property. That's not the trigger. And they know it's not the trigger. But they also know you don't know it. And they're hoping you don't push it. Instead of, and whenever I take a deposition of their corporate representatives, I start off with, you would agree that every word in this policy matters, right? Yeah, because they're trying to use the policy against you. In reality, when I'm in court, I can't tell you how many times I tell the jury, I'm standing there and closing arguments, look them in the eye and say, the insurance company in this case has told you time and again that every word in this policy matters, but they are running from their policy. They're running from the words in their policy. They're scared to death of it, and they're hoping you won't pay attention to the words in the policy. That's what's happening here. All right. Let me see. Ned, do we have any questions? Let's get to some questions. That's enough of me talking.
Mark, we have a question from John. John, I'm unmuting you, and you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm an attorney in Texas, and I've heard of some business interruption cases being filed together as, quote, a class action, different businesses and different industries, probably different carriers. What's your impression of those as class actions?
Yep. In fact, there are 2 things. And thanks for your question, John, because there are several. I get emails after every one of these webinars from lawyers all over the country. And I'm glad that you're on board with us. This is a big problem. These business interruption claims are a big problem for people all over the country, obviously. So appreciate it. So it's not just class actions. It's also something called multi-district litigation. So it's class actions and MDLs. So you can bring a case in one of 3 ways. You can bring it as an individual case, and that's what I'm doing. And I think that's the right way, and I'll explain why in a second. So individual cases on behalf of individual policyholders, or a class action, or in a multi-district litigation. I think in this case, for a number of reasons, with this issue, it's important to do it as an individual case. First, if you get in an MDL or a class action, sometimes you get kind of lost because you're one of thousands, and it's not that individual type of situation where you've got a lawyer representing a client in a case. I think that's important. Second, it isn't going to work. It's just functionally not going to work. You've got hundreds of insurance companies. or 5 policies, and they have different policy language. They have different exclusions. And so you have a problem where they're going to try to have a one size fits all for the insurance. Right way to proceed. Where if I was in court and let's say you were my client, you would want me standing in court
Sorry about that, everybody. We're going to have Phil Sanov take over here for a moment until we get Mark back.
This
back. We dropped off. I am sorry. We've had storms rolling in here. It's rolling in right now. So I don't know what's going on with this. John, you still there?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
I assume the last thing you heard was if I was in court, you would want me standing there fighting for you over your insurance policy and your particular losses. And I assume that would be correct. That's how most people would want it. And when you have so many different policies in so many different states, it's just not going to work. And there's another reason. Different states interpret policies different ways. Some states have a test called the Insured's Reasonable Expectations Test. Some states reject that and to go to something just called reasonable interpretation. Other states have plain meaning. And then those states also might have different ways of interpreting various terms in the policy. Then you get, that's just the coverage. Then you get to exclusions. There's something in policies called anti-concurring cause clauses. And some states don't allow anti-concurring cause clauses. Some states do. And then some states you're going to have concurrent cause where sometimes we're going to say in response to it, when they raise a virus exclusion, we're going to say, well, maybe virus is excluded. But in this case, we have concurrent causes, 2 different causes, and one is the shutdown order and one is the virus. And I'll tell you what I was thinking yesterday. I'll go off on a tangent and finish your question in a minute because this may strike a chord with people. I'm convinced that the loss of income is not due to the virus, because in March we saw how many few people were infected with the virus in March. And now yesterday we had 100,000 deaths. This week we reopened. And so now virus is so much more prevalent in our communities than it was in March. And yet people are lifting the stay orders, and we see people stampeding to restaurants, bars, and to shopping. And so it's clear to me that it wasn't the virus that was keeping people away from businesses. It was the orders. And there's no exclusion in the policy for these orders. And so to the extent the virus played any role at all in keeping people away from businesses, it was a very small part of it. All of us have seen the news over the past week as people open back up. And virus is much more prevalent in the community now than it was before. All right, and so bottom line is, I don't think a multi-district litigation or class action works because policy interpretation tools that are used in different states, they conflict with each other. Various insurance companies' policies are different. It just doesn't work. It's not what's best for the insured and not the client. All right. Anything else, John?
No, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I just saw a chat from, and we'll get to the next question, but I think I struck a chord there, and it was from, is it Roseanne Gella Parker, to all panelists. It was the executive orders that closed the businesses. That's clear. Yep, you are 100% correct, because there's more virus out there, a lot more infected people out there now than there were in March. So it's not the infections that or the virus that's keeping people away from the business. It was the orders. And there's no exclusion for these orders. That's a great observation. Thank you. All right, what other questions do we have, Ned?
I just want to remind all attendees that you can raise your hand. You can post your questions in the chat. Rosangela, if you have a follow-up question, you're welcome to raise your hand.
Anybody, I really want to talk about your questions. That is the best part of this time we get together. And I know you got them because I'm telling people all week, you know, we're to call in because I can't do 100 phone calls a day. Anything else?
Phil, looks like we're having some technical issues if you
Yeah.
want to jump back in here.
Okay, Ned on. Hi, folks. Please forgive the technical problems. I have a Phil's first party parlay in the evenings during the week, and we had this issue for me last week with the storms here in Texas. And thankfully, yesterday's show was a noontime show. In the evening, I didn't have internet at my house. We had the storms rolling through here. Again, if there are any questions, I believe that I saw there were some business owners that had registered. If there are business owners to ask questions, we're happy to address those. Those questions may be even more pertinent to the other business owners that listen. And when we repurpose this video to try to get the information out, we're grateful for the lawyers, John from Texas, that asked his question. I see now that the video, perhaps Mark is trying to come back in. One thing that I would address came up yesterday in our noontime BI webinar, as I see Mark's video working again. Mark, I'll let you take it. You may have talked about this before.
Okay. If you had something to say, go ahead and do it. Who knows if I'm going to get knocked off the air again.
Okay. I've had several people who I talked to and that were on our webinar, lunchtime webinar yesterday, asked questions about why should I file a claim or should I file a claim? Because it's just going to be denied. My broker told me not to file the claim. My insurance folks told me not to file the claim. I am concerned that my insurance rates will go up if I file the claim. My answer to that response, to that inquiry, and I must give credit to Mark here on taking the pretty much precise words, is yes, your insurance rates will go up if you file a claim. Guess what? Your insurance rates will go up if you do not file a claim. Your insurance rates are going up. Your insurance premium dollars are going up. So when you need your insurance claim coverage the most, now file the claim. We know the rates are going up regardless. File your claim. You are always, always, always entitled to file the claim. This will not be held against you as an underwriting matter because it is not something that was accidental that you did. This is an act of nature. This is similar to a weather event. Your rates will simply go up because all insurance rates are going up. This will not be going up because of your claim and not be going up because of you filing too many claims for an underwriting nature. Mark, thank you for coming back. I just wanted to make sure, I hear that question so often, wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Ned, do we have any other questions from folks?
We don't have any other questions, apparently. We can make this the last call for questions to our attendees.
If you've got it, bring them, raise your hand there.
I also want to remind everybody, we have a link to an online evaluation tool that we will be emailing to everyone after this is over, where you can quickly and easily submit your information and find out if you have a claim.
Absolutely. And I appreciate everybody coming on board today. And you can email us. You can email me at markin@forthepeople.com. It's markin as in nations, or MARKN, at forthepeople.com if you've got questions, and we'll get back to you with those. I do appreciate all the attendees today, and hopefully it was informative. You'll get an email, as Ned said afterwards. If you could send that email out to friends, colleagues, family who you think may benefit from this or has suffered losses as a result of this, that'd be a great help to them. It would also be a great help to us. And we appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And thank you very much.